This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is shaking, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast. The gentleman I'm bringing on today does his own podcast. He's an amazing host, and I know he's going to be an incredible guest as well. Jamie Gruber is a former insurance executive turned real estate investor, course creator, and host of the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from Gobundance. Jamie is a partner with Quantum Capital, a real estate investment firm focused on value and multifamily projects and growth markets. Jamie is a proud husband and father, and he and his family travel upwards of 90 days a year together. Man, how do you work if you're traveling that much? How you doing, bro?
Good, man. It's I work while traveling. I try to blend it all together. It's the value of different systems we put in place for schooling and everything else, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, I know we're going to talk about this, but you are able to also travel because of the way you've set up your life. And you mentioned real estate investing, of which I have on a scale of A to F. I'm probably a D- when it comes to real estate. It just is what it is. Sure. So talk to me about, brother, how you got into real estate investing and how you've been able to do, because I think everybody listens like, yeah, cool. 90 days of travel, making a lot of money, doing what I love. Sign me up.
Yeah. It's funny. Real estate investing has been an evolution, and my role in real estate investing has evolved as I've learned more. And I hope to, for some, hopefully you can, if it's something that interests you, you can go further into where I started, meaning like further into the journey where I started as opposed to starting where I started. So I started out of pain, to be honest with you. I was, like you mentioned, an executive with a large insurance company. I moved around a little bit, New York to Boston, Boston to Michigan for the big job, the executive equity, all that good stuff. And then I was miserable. It was completely unfulfilling. I often say my ego and my authentic self had a battle, and the authentic self finally said, hey, look, we've been doing it your way forever. We've taken this job. Like, who wants to be in insurance when they grow up, right? Nobody wants to do that. In fact, I wanted to be a sportscaster, and then at 21, I became a claims adjuster. How does that happen, right? But my ego always won. My ego always said, no, you're making more money. You're important. You've got this title or whatever it is. And then I got the title, the job, the position, the organization, everything that I wanted here in Michigan. And my authenticity won out and said, now you're miserable, man. This isn't what you want. And I started to kind of have this internal fight that led to sleepless nights, not being present physically, yes, but not emotionally or, with my wife, my kid, my first kid at the time. And so, I was looking for, well, all right, if I'm making a few $100,000 a year as this executive, and my wife doesn't work, and, we got kids, we just bought this house, the whole nine, we're having a second kid, another kid on the way at this point. What do I do? How do I make money? How do I earn? How do I, take care of my life? And real estate became very attractive. I read a book, we call it The Purple Pill, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You take a dose of that and you're like, oh, wow. Oh yeah. I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Right. But I actually read it in my 20s and it was nice. And then I read it at 37. It was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Books find you when they need to, right? They find you at the moment that you need them. So I bought a couple duplexes. I had a single family. I used like a line of credit on my house at the time in Massachusetts to buy these. And we did what we call the BRRRR process, which is you go in, you buy them, you rehab them, you rent them out, you refinance, drag all your money out, and then you go do it again. But it was hard. 2 properties, 2 different tax bills, 2 different closings, all of that. And it's like, well, what if we do if I bought like 10 apartments at once or 15 or 20, like if I could buy one building with 20, that's way better. Found a partner. We found a 16 unit. We bought the 16 unit and we're off to the races. Found a 22 unit after that. I'm a smaller partner in that, and was able to sort of scale this little real estate business. It was fun. I enjoyed it. What I found myself doing though in that time was I created a meetup group at the same time called Multifamily and More. My instinct, and I didn't know it at the time, but I look back, it's amazing how it happened. My instinct always is, how can I create community around what I'm doing? How can I bring people together around this passion I now have? But I never really allowed myself to explore purpose. I believe passion is a fleeting emotion. It goes away. And if you're not anchored to what you're intended to be, which is purpose, what you were born to be, then passions, how many of us have tried guitar for a weekend and it goes away, right? There's no purpose in that for us. It doesn't serve who we are, who we were created to be. So real estate as an investor, operating it, buying it, underwriting it, going in and doing the repositioning and getting all into the construction. Like some of that was kind of cool, but a lot of it I didn't love. But I really liked hosting these meetup groups and talking to other investors and having interactions with investors. So I started to get this sense that my purpose is more around my ability to communicate. Again, I wanted to be a sportscaster when I was a kid. It wasn't that maybe I wanted to be a sportscaster, that was the do, but the be of me, who I am, is somebody that loves to tell stories, loves to add value through my power of influence, the thing I was just God given. So as I've gone along the journey, I've sort of whittled down to what I think my role in real estate is. And that is, I'm much better, if you want to look at the role in real estate, at investor relations, capital raising, marketing, than I am at deal finding, underwriting, acquisition, repositioning, construction. That's not my role. So as I started to go down this journey and think, okay, I've got to be all these things within my real estate investing career, I learned, like, you know what, actually, I can build the brand around real estate, and that brand has allowed me to partner with somebody who does all of the stuff I don't love. And I get to have a role in marketing and capital raising and investor relations. And that's where I am in real estate today. So for people that are out there saying, and that's, again, one of the things that allowed me to walk away from this day job a year ago, was the fact that I've got this partnership, this portfolio, some passive income. And granted, I still work. I still do a lot. I have my Emerge and Ascend communities. I make money on that. That's an active endeavor, but I love it. It's not work, right? I'll do it all day, every day. I'll be on calls with them. I just got off of one with them before we started recording. It's what serves me. So I love doing it. But my role in real estate is such that I'm leaning into my gifts. I'm leaning into what I'm great at. I'm leaning into what I'm God-given and what I'm born to do, and not trying to be something that I'm not, which is an operator, integrator, and analyzer, all of that stuff. I leverage the power to connect, and I don't leverage the idea that I need to do all this other stuff. So my career today is more focused there. And anybody that's looking to get on this journey, you have gifts. Maybe it's the same one I do. Maybe it's something different. But operators out there that are doing deals at scale in a very tough market where the little guy it's hard for the little guy to find a deal. Operators with influence like you've got a brand. You've got a bunch of people out there that listen to you. You've got an email list. I'm on it. Like, at a point at which you learn enough about a deal and go to an operator and say, hey, I like this deal. What do you need? And they say, oh, I need to raise capital. And you go to your list and say, hey, everyone, passive investing is a passion of mine, something that I'm trying to drive into here. I got this opportunity if you want to invest in it. And now you become a general partner with that operator, doing only what you're great at, which is leveraging your voice, your audience, to raise capital and add value. And you get an ownership stake as a result. It's an amazing world.
Well, I'll tell you another thing you do. You just simplified, for me anyway, real estate investing, like a bunch. So that's pretty cool. I want to go back, brother. I want to talk about you leaving and some of the emotions, the mindset, leaving a couple $100,000. And again, I know insurance well enough to know it was a nice gig. Leaving that, there had to be some emotions going on, brother. And so it's a two-part question. Let's dive into that mind. I want to hear about how you were feeling, how you were able to overcome maybe some of these thoughts of, I don't know much about real estate investing. I'm really good at my job here, but I don't love it. And then secondly, how long that took. So I know that's a long-winded question, but I hope you kind of get the gist of what I'm asking.
I think so. I hope so. And bring me back if I don't, but where my mind was, and, you know, I'm 43 now. So this is probably like 37, 38. I get this job and I move. And I believe that that's around the time in many of our lives where we start to really assess, you know, where are we? And some people grind through, they push through, and they come out the other end and they stay in the same space. And that's okay. Other people find massive change in their life as a result. And I just ended up being the second one. And to further the point, I always believe this. When you're 20, you think 30 is an adult. When you hit 30, you realize you're still 20. And then once 40 comes, you realize it went in about 6 minutes. 30 to 40 goes like that, right? It goes so fast. And now you're tuned into your 80-year-old self. So I got to this place, meaning like, you know that it's going to go really fast and like, okay, what is my life all about? So for me, you know, I got to this place where everything started to feel heavy. I can't define it any other way than that, right? Like the job, it was good. Outwardly, it was all the right thing. I was making a good living. I had equity in this big insurance company, all of that stuff. They gave me 50, 60,000 of equity every year, right? And it would take time to vest, but still, it's a great way to build wealth. Equity is a great way to build wealth. So I had all of that, but it's just like, and this is a sign for me. when my wife and I have a fight, I never wonder if I should leave her, right? There's enough love there that I never wonder if I should leave her. When my job had even a marginally bad day, I wondered about quitting. I thought about quitting, right? It was like, now what I do, I don't think about walking away from it on my bad days. And as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's up days, there's down, the down days can be like scary. Like, holy shit, am I going to ever earn money again? Like, those down days can be scary, but then you go back to your job and it's like, oh no. So that was a tell for me at this point. Every bad day felt like I should quit. And it was like, all right, is this just, cold feet or whatever the case may be? So it started to just sort of build and build and build. And I had the benefit, I say that now, of a ball buster boss who was complete opposite of me, who was all over me, who was micromanaging me, $350 a year in income. And she's telling me the exact steps to do at times. Just an absolute villain in my life at that point. And I treated myself that way. I was the victim to her until I wasn't, until I said, you know what? Let me convert this relationship. Let me surrender a little bit to the moment here as opposed to trying to push and push and push, and just allowed myself to be. So it felt heavy. I had a boss that was putting pressure on me, which at the time sucked, but in retrospect was the thing I needed. I needed to meet her when I met her. And then it got to a point where I had built things that started to feel fulfilling. I started to do some side hustle stuff. I think for me, what always stopped me from doing anything other than my job in the past was fear. And some may say it's fear of failure. Fear of failure is real, but I think the essence of fear of failure is fear of judgment. I can fail with nobody seeing it. And you ever stub your, or trip on a sidewalk? What's the first thing you do? You look around. Who saw me? Right. But if nobody saw you, you go about your day. It feels way better, right? Somebody saw you. You're like, hey, they just judged me. You make a face or whatever. And it's the same thing. If you fail in whatever endeavor you might try to take on as a side hustle, you build a community, you build a business, and nobody sees it. Nobody knows about it. And it just fails. Who cares? Right. But what you're afraid of is you could actually build something here and be known for it, and then it could fail. And now the world is going to judge you. So what we do is, I think, in our late 30s, early 40s, with this inkling to say, man, there's another part of my life that I want to pursue. We get stuck not starting because we think whatever we choose needs to be the thing. I can't pivot again. One-time move, that's what I'm afforded because I'm 40. I'm 40, right? And I was there. Then I started to do this multifamily and more thing, and it was really cool. And I started to get on podcasts, and I had 10,000 members in a Facebook group all of a sudden. It became a thing, right? Like, holy cow. And it felt so good. And then Emerge and Ascend is built, and it felt so good. I was seeing results for people. Like, the job felt heavy, and this feels good. And oh my God, I'm making money in real estate. I'm making money with this course and mastermind. Like, this could be something. It was at this moment, honestly, that I went from looking back at the idea of I'm 40, if only I knew what I knew at 22, because life was so much simpler then, so much simpler. I didn't have a mortgage or a wife or kids. And like I said, when you're 40, you see 80. And I looked at that guy because only I know him. Only 80 or 90-year-old you, right? I looked at him and I said, what would you say about me today? I mean, I can't go back, but I can look forward. What would you say about 40-year-old me today? And the complexities of my life, I do with air quotes. And I know me at 80. 80-year-old me is not going to say, dude, we should have grinded it out at a job that made us miserable. 80-year-old me would have been like, dude, you were 40. I'm at the end, man. My knees don't work. Whatever. I got this illness, that illness, 90, whatever age you want to say. Right. But I'm at the end, all of this, you think your life's complex, health insurance for your kid. Come on, this is all solvable for you to live a life on purpose, to be the best version of you. When 90-year-old me and I connected, it was an easy decision at that point, at least to pursue the path of leaving. Now, if I may, I'll go into a quick story about how this happened. My wife and I decided to do our first trip. I was still at my job at this point, right at the point where I was like, man, I don't know about this job anymore, but I'm still there. And we go to South Florida. COVID allowed us to go away for a month, right? Worked a little bit, took some time off. It was great. I drove, dogs and stuff in the back. Wife and kids flew down a couple of days later. So your neck of the woods, almost. So I drive down to South Florida from Michigan. It's about a 2-day drive. And after about a day of listening to podcasts and making phone calls, there's only you, the road, and your brain. And it was in that moment that I realized, man, every day I get up, I do my morning routine, I go to work, I come home, I take care of the kids, I go into some side hustle stuff, kiss the wife, go to bed, wake up the next day and do it all again. No space. I had time in my brain to calculate, what are my expenses? What am I making now? And maybe the most important calculus is, if I left, what do I believe I could do or make if I go fully into the things that I'm passionate about? So all of that together became you know what? I think I'm ready to do this as I'm driving. I stop in St. Augustine at a friend's house. He's like, quit. You should quit. He's a big real estate investor. I leave, I go south, and I'm 99% of the way there, man. I'm so close to saying yes. I'm not fully committed, but 99.9%. And I get a call from a friend who tells me, hey, I wanted to let you know, Paul, 50-year-old guy, 2 kids, healthy dude, went into the hospital last night with some chest pain, never came out. And then it clicked 100%. I knew exactly. You ever have that moment where you know exactly what you need to do next? That's what that moment was. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And in that instant, dude, that 99.9% to that 100%, that move, that little tick over, all of a sudden opportunities open. Full alignment, not almost full alignment, full alignment. Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you become part of this? Hey, can you do that? Like, whoa, I had to turn a lot of stuff down, but that just opened up possibility in my life when I became committed to leaving my job. So I hope I answered your question, but that's what I went through.
You answered quite a few questions actually. And one of the things was I was going to ask, did you get quiet time to really get that clarity? And obviously you did. I just imagine your wife and kids showing up and you're like, well, guess what? In this drive, I'm 100% quitting. Nice to see you.
Yeah. My wife knew I was kind of moving there, obviously, but yeah, I got that clarity there. And she would even say, she's like, we'll live in a one bed apart. Like, it's not about all this, like, and that's the great support I have with her. We just want you. We just want you, your time, your energy, and we want the best version of you. On the quiet thing, real quick. Since then, my wife and I alternate quiet weekends. We call them solo weekends. Like that was a game changer. Like, wow, you actually give yourself space and you can come up with stuff. So every quarter, I'll go to a hotel, literally 0.8 of a mile from my house. I'll go to a Hampton Inn, Friday to Sunday, no kids, no wife. And I all I do is, besides sleeping, I'll meditate, I'll read, I'll exercise, and I'll journal. Those 4 things for 3 days. And it's amazing how much you get just doing that every quarter.
So once a quarter, you and your wife both are committed to doing this, because I think it's brilliant. And you check in Friday, you check back out Sunday, and you come out just like, I'm guessing, refreshed,
big time,
mood,
clear, calm. Yeah. But even like I'm on fire as well. Like the ideas, the things that I've been blocked on that I just haven't given myself the space to think about. Like all of a sudden I know exactly what I need to do on stuff that's sort of blocking me or I'm stuck on. And that lesson was driving to South Florida. Like, how much am I saving? How much do I have? I have enough saved. Shit, I could run a year if I don't make another dime, but I'm making money. So that extends that year. But then I think I can make some money doing this because I love it. Like all of that was with quiet time. Before that, everything was just go, go, go.
Well, that practice, I love it. And I'm already, again, this is why I do podcasts. I get so much from it. So I hope everyone else is getting this, because quiet time is so key. You've mentioned a couple of times ascend and emerge, and some of that verbiage the audience won't know. So Let's talk about that, brother. Can you talk about who that is, what that's all about, why that's been important in your life, and what it's kind of provided for you? Maybe this is a shameless plug, but I'm part of the group. I think it's an amazing group. So let's talk about it.
Well, not only that, but I think it plays to the idea that you have to just go with what if you're in a job or in whatever it is right now, and you're thinking, okay, I don't even know what I would do next, right? Just do whatever feels like. For me, it was like, I'm gonna start a meetup group, right? Like, I like talking to people. That's what do I love doing? I love talking to people. Like, not what do I love doing that'll make money, but I love talking to people. So I started a meetup group and I become known as a community builder, right? Then there were aspects of that. Like after a while, I was like, I don't want to just talk about real estate. I want to do other things. So we incorporated some mindset stuff. As it went along, I'm in Gobundance, like you, right? Which is this tribe of healthy, wealthy, generous people that choose to live epic lives. That's our tagline, right? So we're in Gobundance, this amazing group of people, entrepreneurs. In our case, we're on the men's side of it, who just hold you accountable, and they want the most for you and the best for you in all aspects of life, right? So I love being part of that community. And then I've got this community over here. And this is what I mean by just kind of going and seeing what happens. At a certain point, the founders of Gobundance say, hey, you love community. We want to build something for all these people that come to Gobundance saying, hey, I want to join, but they don't have the net worth to join, right? Net worth, it has to be $1 million plus in net worth in order to be a member. So they don't have the net worth to join, right? So we want to build something. You're the community guy. Do you want to do that? And I remember the feeling like, hell yeah. That wasn't like sure, oh yeah, I'll give it a shot. Hell yeah. And then it's amazing. I'd never built a course. So I went out and I sold 30 of them. And then I built it somehow after that. I didn't even know what it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be called Emerge. I didn't know what the structure of it would be or anything, but I knew I needed 30 people to test this thing. We made it about goal setting and really understanding the power of proximity. We use this book over my shoulder, Tribe of Millionaires, as curriculum in the course. And so that's like step one. You go in, you get proximity to each other. You get proximity to Gobundance members every Tuesday night. You get You get curriculum and content on how do you create a vision effectively? How do you set goals? How do you embed habits? How do you plan effectively? How do you leverage proximity and connection and purpose and all that stuff in this 12-week course? We built a community and a course around it, and it's gone really, really well. And then those that graduate, who actually do the work. I don't care if when you come into Emerge, you set a goal to meet by the end of it, by the end of the 12 weeks. Hit the goal, don't hit the goal. You'll learn about yourself. I care less about that. Did you do each module of work? Did you do all 12 assignments? If you did, we invite you to Ascend. Ascend is exactly what I just described about Gobundance, all of the same, connection and all that stuff, annualized, not just a 12-week course, but a full annual community, just without the $1 million requirement. But you got to pass Emerge to get to Ascend.
See, this group I'm a part of, I didn't know any of this, so I'm learning. That's pretty cool, though. So there's requirements to go from Emerge into this Ascend program. Let's just talk about, because you said something, I did healthy, wealthy, generous people, which 100% that is accurate. What was it about the community of Gobundance? What has that lent to you? Because again, I've experienced it. I'm a huge proponent and advocate of Gobundance because of what I've seen in my very, very limited time with this organization.
Yeah.
You being an elder, quote unquote, now I'm air quoting. What is it about that group? What do you get from it, man? Why is it such an impactful organization?
When we grow in any direction, not better than, worse than, but just grow in any direction that goes a little bit against the regular community that we have, you become a lone wolf. I like to look at the people around me in my life, if you will, my family, not but like my parents, my sisters, my friends, the people I've known since high school, all that amazing remember when community. All of our conversations are remember when. They know me for who I've been and who I am, right? So when I step out into something like real estate investing, immediately they want to keep me safe. It's with love, but it drags you back like crabs in a barrel, right? Like, well, what about my uncle? Yeah, I don't know. My uncle had a couple properties. Somebody sued him. He went bankrupt. I mean, you got to be careful. Or, you want to get calls at 2 a.m. for, a toilet from a tenant, whatever. They're not hating on you, but it feels like it, but they're crabs in the barrel trying to drag you back in or pull you back into safety. Right. So I have a remember when community. They're great. I'm growing from that, not in a better way, not in a worse way. Again, just growing in a different direction. Gobundance for me provided me with an imagine when community. So while everybody in my regular life knows me for who I've been, this group only knows me for who I'm going to be because I lay it out. I tell them who I'm going to be. Another way of putting it, I heard it said by a friend of mine, David Nurse, who wrote a great book called Breakthrough. I'd recommend it to anybody. People in my life are focused on me. People in Gobundance are focused on my breakthrough. In other words, they're going to confront me when I'm not aligned with the future version of me I want to become. And I need that accountability in my life. That's what Gobundance has been for me, a breakthrough focus and imagine when tribe, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I guess my hope is anybody listening, if you're even remotely interested in leveling up, being around, as you just said, the imagine when, I never heard it that way, but when you're looking at what you can accomplish versus the labels or whatever's put on us, it is pretty interesting. Brother, how do you manage your time? And I know that sounds like such a cliche, crappy question to ask, but you're a busy dude, man. You're doing a podcast, you're doing this group with Emerge and Ascend, and you're real estate investing, you're a dad, you're wearing a lot of freaking hats. So how do you best kind of juggle every ball that's in the air and truly be good at all of them? Because that's not an easy task.
I don't know that you can be truly good at all at the same time. And I think you have to have that understanding of you. I think your family has to have that understanding of you, and people in your life have to know that about you as well. And, practically I try to, like, Thursday's podcast day, right? I record podcasts typically on Thursday. Meaning I do interviews on Thursday. I do have one today though that snuck in. I think the guy had a conflict, so I have to do one today. So Thursday's that, right? Monday at noon each day, we have a call with our team at Quantum Capital to go over real estate related stuff. So I have every day of the week, I have a call set that's blocked for me to do that. Right. The other stuff that I do with Emerge and Ascend, there's different segments and series. They're all time blocked. 4 p.m. Wednesdays every week. We have one thing once a month on today, 10 a.m. on the first Wednesday of the month. I have a thing. Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. we do a thing, right? Like, so all of that is sort of time blocked for me. But I don't really believe in balance. I don't think that's a real thing. I think that like anything, you have to assess where you are and if it aligns with the season that you're in. So when I go away with my family, it's imbalanced toward them, and my business does not have me as much, right? I have people in place, and I think you have to leverage and all that stuff for sure, but still I'm not there. But there's times I need me time. I need to go to the gym. I need to go away for a solo weekend. I need to take a trip with my friends, right? And my wife has to do the same thing. So I don't know that there's a balance. What I try to do, and I'm still working on even consolidating more, is I try to go with the hell yeah standard that I mentioned a moment ago, right? So whatever I am doing, it's got to be a hell yeah. Jump on a podcast, that's a hell yeah for me. For some people, that might be like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, no. I mean, a good podcast. I mean, there's some podcasts that like, look, you're brand new, call me at episode 50 kind of thing. But jump on a podcast, absolutely. That's a hell yeah. Have a guest come on and interview them. Hell yeah. I really don't get even paid for the podcast. The podcast just brings in other revenue from other things, right? But the time spent, I would do it twice as much and I would pay for it. I love doing the podcast. Hang out with people that are looking to be best versions of themselves in Gobundance or with Emerge and Ascend, and help them get to that place that they want to be. Hell yeah. Be with my family. Hell yeah. Right. So I try to do the things that mean the most to me. I try to time block and give myself days that are for certain things or times that are for certain things. But I don't believe that at any given point, I am the balanced husband and father and entrepreneur and podcast host and all of that. Sometimes I'm all in on podcasting. Sometimes I'm all in on business. Sometimes I'm all in on family. I think you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace and have a tough conversation, maybe with the wife, the husband, the kids or whatever, about this is sometimes what it's going to be as I build, as I grow. And again, I need to be satisfied with what I'm doing. If I'm doing all hell yeah stuff, then I love all of it. And I can't, I have to do all of it at some point. So I don't believe in balance. I don't know that I do it evenly day to day. I don't think that's a possibility. I do it, in clusters, if you will.
But it sounds like you're pretty disciplined with your time commitments, with scheduling out your calendar, which is pretty key. I want to ask you about failure. And the reason being is because, look, man, Jamie kicks ass at a lot of things. There's no question. But at some point, I'm sure a real estate deal didn't go the way you wanted, or I don't know, just name a failure. And so often people define themselves by this failure. I really dislike that. So I want to get into your brain a little bit and say, all right, Jamie failed. What does that look like, man? Do you have a process? Do you have a way to say, all right, cool, I learned something? How does that look in your world?
Funny. There's like a pre-Gobundance and post-Gobundance of this for me. So pre-Gobundance, I bought the duplexes I mentioned in New York when I was like moving from Michigan or from Boston to Michigan. Weird timing, I know, to buy properties in New York, but whatever. Buy these two duplexes and I'm rehabbing them. And we had budgets of like $33,000 on one and like 35 on the other, right? Like $70,000 to do the rehab. We didn't come close to that. So like at the end of this, it was going to be like, hey, we're going to be able to drag out all our money and like 40 grand at closing. I ended up like having to bring 5,000 to the closing table. We were so over budget because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I went through with like my dad, who knows enough about construction and knows enough guys. They gave us a phone quote like, oh yeah, we could do that for whatever. And then the reality came and it was like, no, that's not the way it works. We didn't run a snake through the sewer line. Turns out it's cracked. That's a $6,000 expense I never expected that we could have negotiated in at the time that we closed if I just did my damn due diligence. So yeah, big failure. Lost money on that, but you learn. But I did. I looked at it like, oh, I'm just not a good real estate investor. In that space, though, is when I found my community, Gobundance, when I found other people that have failed epically as well and make it okay. In fact, they make it part of the process. So for me, it's who you surround yourself with. Prior to, it defined me. My job, I wasn't getting the job done when I moved to Michigan. My organization wasn't performing. My boss is all over me. I'm a failure. I almost took a demotion back to New England because I'm not enough here. I'm obviously over my head. I shouldn't do this. And I didn't do that, thank God, because I didn't want to set that example for my kids. But yeah, once I got around people that embrace failure, I can talk to Jake Harris right now. Jake Harris was negative $1 million after the 2008 financial crisis. His net worth is multiples of millions of dollars now, right? Because he failed and it's okay. He's still here. So when you see people, it's almost like an illusion. Like you talk to, like right now, I could talk to you. You could say, yeah, I've been bankrupt, homeless, this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but you have headphones on, a mic, you got your cell phone. Like, you seem okay. You're here. Right. So It didn't kill you. Okay. So failure is okay. Failure, I could fail and I'll come back. So just being around people that are willing to admit to their failure and that are successful, at least in the way I see them today, gave me permission to fail. That's the best way I could describe it.
It's a good one. You mentioned a book earlier, and I love this is one because I'm such a reader. I love talking about books. You mentioned Breakthrough. What couple other books that have really been made a profound impact on your life that you're like, man, you definitely should share this with the audience. They need to read this.
Outwitting the Devil is by far the number one book I've ever read that's unlocked things in my life. If you're not familiar, it's a Napoleon Hill book that was written in the 30s, but kind of controversial for the time and was published in like 2013 or something like that. It really, Outwitting the Devil is like an interview Napoleon Hill does with the devil, whatever you want to describe that as, but it's like a back and forth interview where he unveils, if you will, what the devil's true evil deeds are. And spoiler alert, essentially making you stay in place, making you what they call a drifter in life. That's the devil's true evil doing. Like when you don't lean into your true gifts and share that with the world. So that book it just hit me in the moment. I mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that's just a good investment money mindset book. And the other one that as I was becoming an entrepreneur meant a lot to me was Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. It's just a very simple concept. It's right there on the cover, Who Not How. But it broke down the concept of leverage. And I'm putting a lot more of that in my life. Like I realize in everything that I do, I am the block. All the success I have, the level that I'm not going to is because I am such a freaking toilet clog on all the things that I do. And when I find people that do the things that I can't and they take it to the next level, I mean, this could be a VA for $5 an hour. It's not expensive, or $3 an hour, or somebody you hire on that's a bit more of an executive assistant or an operating officer. Man, that book just, I don't know, it gave me the shift I needed in my entrepreneurial journey.
I love that. I am the block. Boy, isn't that true, man? Hate to look in the mirror and say it, but so often it is absolutely spot on. So we talked about real estate investing. I think anybody really that I know that is deemed successful, they have real estate portfolio of some sort. What's the best piece of advice you could give somebody listening to say, hey, look, you want to dip your toe in the water? This is the best thing I can give you to really take that leap, or to at least look at maybe creating some passive income.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost is be intentional with who you surround yourself with. You want to be a real estate investor, get around real estate investors and you become that, right? But the other one I think is no amount of education compares to actually buying a property. And what I mean by that is I'm not saying just willy-nilly buy something, but you see something that works, you get educated enough to understand how to write, taxes, maintenance, capital expenditures, like what are the things I have to consider in the price of this home? How much my mortgage be? How much are the rents? What's the market? Okay, that'll take you 20 minutes to figure out once you read a book. One book, you can figure that out, right? But so many people then want to go back to education, another podcast, another episode, and they don't buy the damn deal. And what they'll do is they'll take every lesson from every podcast they've ever heard on real estate, and they'll write it on a big list of the things that, this is where he screwed up, right? Like I didn't get a person to do due diligence on those two properties. Stupid, right? But, okay. Do due diligence, this, that, and the other. And they'll hear everything like, make sure that you don't buy a condo because of HOAs. Don't do this because of that. Do this. And they make this list even. So as simple as, I had a $500 expense for an electrician because of something that happened, all the way up through, I didn't do a structural assessment and the house fell down. All of those are equal in reasons why you won't do a deal. So now you're scrutinizing a property against this laundry list you've built and you won't do the deal. So you have to do a deal. It's like having a kid. You can know that you're not going to sleep, right? You're going to know that intellectually, but you don't understand not sleeping or that feeling of I got to protect this thing, or that feeling like I want to throw this kid out the window. Right? You can't understand any of that until you have the kid. How many times do you say it to a person that doesn't have a parent where they're like, I'm so busy, and you're like, you have no idea, right? You have no idea because they don't have kids. Because you have kids. Same thing with real estate. You can know everything from a book or a podcast, but you buy a deal. And again, failure, right? I'm here. I still have those. Well, no, I sold one of them. I still have one of those two properties. I'm alive. I'm here. I got a nice mic. I've got a computer. I can afford a life, even though I undershot capital expenditures by nearly half, right? still standing. But you know what I got from that education of leaving $5,000 in the deal is real estate university on, okay, now I know not what not to do. I know what the next kind of deal I want to buy is. I went from that to 16 units to 22 units to now buying. We just did 5 deals in Denver. We got another one under contract for 7 million. Like you expand when you actually take action. So you got to buy a deal. That's my advice.
That's good. I love it. I realize who you kind of remind me of as a sportscaster or sports. Ryan, is it Ryan Rucco, the guy that does NBA? I have to look him up. And it's not just because he's bald, brother, because you got that, but you sound like him. You would be fantastic as announcing any sport, really. I want to know just overall kind of what's inspiring you, brother. I know you have these groups that you're building. Community is obviously extremely important to you. What is driving you to show up to your 80-year-old self? So you look and say, good job, Jamie. What does that look like for you on a daily basis?
I think for me now, honestly, I'm in this space at the moment. I'm about a year out of my job, still kind of that new entrepreneur smell on me, if you will. And I'm just now getting to a place where I'm starting, and I don't think I fully, but I'm starting to understand, in the first year, and it's funny, in Gobundance, right? You get permission from guys that have done this before. You're like, oh, okay. I remember a guy telling me, like, dude, the first year I woke up, I answered emails. I don't know. I just, that the year went somehow, there was no intentionality. And I'm starting to get intentional with what my week and my month look like. What's inspiring me now is understanding, and I've done a lot of work on this, what the best use of me is, as opposed to understanding what the most success I can have is. Because I'm learning that use of me and my ability to add value to others. I hate that phrase, but my ability to show up for other people is really the most successful version of me as well. So what's inspiring me now is, and I see myself kind of getting out of balance at times, like in a scarcity mindset of I need to monetize this touch or whatever, where it's just not appropriate to do so. So I'm doing less of that, and I'm more inspired to say, you know what? Ego wants me to get something from this. Ego wants me to have this person, whatever, work with me, buy from me, do this, invest with me, or whatever the case would be. But the best use of me in almost every setting with anybody that I interact with is, how can I absolutely make sure that they come out with more information, more knowledge, and feel better about whatever it is they're trying to do than they did before they had a touch with me. So that's what's inspiring me, is just every day being very present with the thought of, like, am I doing this because I can make money, or am I doing this because it's the best use of me and I can help somebody? Because I truly am learning that when I get into this mode, and I've had like those little fits, maybe you've had this as well, like all of a sudden, like I have money coming in. And the only thing I can, like, like a month or a week or 3 weeks, like suddenly, like out of nowhere, it just flies in. And I realize in that time, I'm not pressing. I'm just sort of showing up. I'm just sort of like, yeah, get on a call, do what I got to do, whatever I can help you with, whatever. Even an investor, like if I talk to an investor and on that call, my intent is, hey, look, are you looking at other deals? Yeah. Well, look, go ask these 3 questions of me, of anybody. Ask these 3 questions. I'm not worried about them investing with me in that moment. You know what they end up doing? Investing with me, just because I added value to them in that moment. And that was my true intention. So I'm focused there. I'm trying to become, and it's not like, oh, I've figured it out, I'm enlightened, I only add value to people now, I don't worry about money. No, that's not real. But as much of that version of me as I can be over the course of 12 months is where I'm trying to get to. I don't know what the max is. Maybe it's 4 of 12 months that I'm there, but I want to be there as much as possible, because it feels better. And I just see success happening. It's just allowing that woo-woo connection between the two to be and understand that it just is.
Yeah, there's something about the takeaway and not focusing on whatever it is when it's like, oh, that was easy. Not sure how that happened. All this effort, what the hell? Lastly, brother, I just want to give you open, mic here. Anything you want to say to the audience, because again, whether you like to add value to others or not, it's what you do. You're really good at it. You serve people in such a amazing way. So I just give you the open forum. Anything you want to share with the audience before we kind of wrap up?
Yeah, I found this as a 42-year-old dude who left a high-paying job in the middle of it with the wife and kids at home, and no, them not having job, or my wife not having jobs and all of that. I was amazed at how many people that are like the avatar of me, 42-year-old dude that comes over to me and says, dude, I don't know what I would do. Like, you can feel the pain in them. They feel stuck. They feel trapped. Like, this is my life. I couldn't do anything with it. And if anybody out there is listening or knows somebody that might be in that position, because there's so many of us out there that are, I would give this advice. And I alluded to it a bit early, but I want to be a little bit more intentional with it. I think you have to ask yourself this question. If you're thinking, okay, this isn't whatever I'm doing, my job, my business, it's not for me. There's something else that I want to do. What do you love doing? And in that moment, only ask yourself that, because what happens is we ask ourselves, what do I love doing? Or I ask somebody and then they ask themselves, what do I love doing that'll make me money? So they try to filter it through like, well, I love throwing lawn darts, but I can't make money doing that. So that's a stupid thing to say. So I have to say something I love that makes money. No, I love throwing lawn darts. Great. Right. Go do that. Whatever you might do, go on meetup.com and start a meetup for people that love throwing lawn darts, right? Become a thought leader in that, but whatever it is, right? But just go do what you love doing. Begin building the habit of following that authentic voice that got rocked off center at 6 years old. And over time just got, further and further away from what your true center is supposed to be, what your intention was. So now you got this gap between your authenticity and where you are today, because you're 40 years old. Start doing things, that little voice that pops up real quick, that gets smacked down by all the ego and, oh, you can't do that because of this. You're 40 years old. What are you, crazy? That first little voice, tune into that and do that thing first. The second is, once you do, you have to be okay with the pivot. So you might get excited about, wow, I heard myself. I like throwing lawn darts. I'm going to go do this. And I'm throwing lawn darts. And all of a sudden, I met this guy and we love throwing lawn darts together. We started a lawn dart league and we got a business now. Oh my God, just because I love throwing lawn darts. And then in that, you find like, I love throwing lawn darts. I like this business, but I don't love helping other people with throwing lawn darts. I like helping other people with, their physical ailments that they have that prevent them from throwing, whatever it is, like, and you pivot. And then you find something in that and you pivot again. And the world at some point is going to say to you, dude, you're all over the place. I thought you were the lawn dart guy and now you're doing this and doing that. And that judgment right there, that makes you run back to job or back to business you don't love. So you have to take the step to follow your authentic voice first, trust it, and then be okay with the pivot, be okay within yourself. And again, I say the best way you can do that is surround yourself with people that imagine when community. That'll get you there.
Guys, he is preaching to people all of us have felt at some point, if not feeling that way right now. And I love it, man. I appreciate you doing it, lending that. You can definitely inspire more people to do this. How can they reach you? What's a good place to connect with you online? Where would they find you, whether it's for Gobundance, Emerge, Ascend, Real Estate Investment? Where's that at, brother?
Yeah, best place right now to follow day to day. I'm doing a bunch on Instagram. It's at the Jamie Gruber. But my website, jamiegruber.com, is under redesign right now. But jamiegruber.com will have all of that on there. You can jump onto Emerge, take a look at that. You can look at all the other stuff that I'm working on. But yeah, if you're looking to follow day to day on just tips, advice, things that I'm going through, the ups, the downs, all of that stuff, it's mostly on Instagram at the Jamie Gruber.
Awesome. Guys, check him out. He is an awesome dude. Great podcast. Go check out that as well. Brother, I appreciate you being here, taking the time. I know you have another one coming up, but I appreciate you being here, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's always fun, man. Great seeing you.
You as well. You guys, I hope you he had so much good advice. I'm excited now. I'm going to go do the things I love. I might even go throw a freaking lawn dart because that sounds pretty awesome. I want you to remember, until next time, your mindset matters. We'll talk to you then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.